Hello and welcome to the Million Dollar Women video series. This is season 2 of this amazing series where we've talked to a bunch of women that have created a business from scratch. That's right, they've created $1 million plus business from scratch, and we want to learn what it took to create that business, what challenges they had, and what lessons can they teach you so that you can see that you can create anything. And the more women that are here that you can learn from, the more that you will start believing that you can do this too. So learn, get out the notebook. This is a learning session, immerse yourself. And if you haven't watched any of the other series, then I definitely suggest put the series on, listen, take notes, and I know that you can be there too. And my next guest is Brigit Esselmont. Now, she's created the Biddy Tarot empire. Now, just check out and Google Biddy Tarot and you will see that Brigit has an incredible story, and she's going to share with you her challenges, what it's taken to get to where she is today, and she's going to share with you some really amazing tips, tricks, strategies to help you on your way to growing $1 million business. So if you're watching, stay tuned. This is a great interview. Let's get into it. Welcome, Brigit.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
This series, if you haven't joined me on the other series, this series is fantastic. If you are wanting to create $1 million business, then you want to dive into this video and learn, take notes, and look at all the videos in this series, because there's nothing like surrounding yourself like who you want to become. And Brigit, you are an inspiration, and I can't wait to dive in, and I'm sure you've got lots of gold to share with our viewers today. So welcome.
Thank you.
And just a quick recap too, Brigit and I met, when did we meet now? A couple of years?
Yeah, I'm going to say 2, maybe 3 years ago.
Oh my God, really? Wow. And we met when we filmed your videos for one of your launches.
That's
so
right.
Awesome. And I still love that footage and I look at it. It's beautiful. So awesome. And here you are and here we are. So that's how it all began. And we've been following because we live pretty close by, even though we're on Zoom. We don't live that far away, but we're both busy businesswomen. So Brigit, tell me about your business, Biddy Tarot, your empire that you've built. Tell me how you started.
Yeah, so I started way back in 1999 when I think the internet was like pretty much in its infancy. And at that point, it was just a hobby. It was something to fill my time as I was studying at university. And it stayed that way probably for a good, 10 years. And then when it came to probably about 2009, I had my first baby and I started reading a book called The 4-Hour Workweek, which I'm sure some folks will know very well.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, it started talking about how you could take a hobby or a passion and turn it into an income stream. I thought, okay, that sounds interesting. I'll try a few of those things. And then by 2012, my revenue had got up to around the 100K mark. And I thought, great, it's time to quit my corporate job and go out and do my own business. And that's really, I see that kind of as the birth point for Biddy Tarot. And then from that point, 2013, I hired my first team member and we started to really grow like our product suite, our team. And then fast forward to now, here we are, where we have a team of 30 located all around the world. We have over 11 million visitors coming to our website every year, and that continues to grow exponentially. We have 2,000 members in our membership, our community, Biddy Tarot community, and we have thousands of students in our online courses. We even have our tarot deck. Oh, I don't have it handy, but we have our tarot deck in Urban Outfitters in all of the stores across the US as well, which was an absolute dream come true.
So what's Biddy Tarot? What's the name? Like, why Biddy Tarot and not your name? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah, I wish I always had like a real fancy story about meditating and it came to me or something. But back when I was a teenager, I really wanted a nickname. So my friends had nicknames. So I said, oh, why don't you all call me Biddy? That's like short for Brigit. but it didn't really take off because you can't tell people what to call you for a nickname. It doesn't quite work that way. So I kept that name for, like, when I was working professionally, I didn't really want to have a connection. I wanted a separation really from my professional work and my tarot work. So I thought, oh great, I'll call it, actually the first name of my site was Biddy's Pretty Little Tarot Website or something.
Oh, really? Wow.
But it took off from there. So eventually landed on it being Biddy Tarot, and it's really stuck, and I'm really happy with the name. Actually, it just kind of jives. It's good.
And when you think, because a lot of people say you've got to have your personal brand and you've got to have this name that's you, what do you think about that as far as growing your empire? That hasn't made a difference to you, not being your name.
Yeah, and I think, like, when Biddy Tarot was growing, so particularly from that, you know, even from 2012 through to, I'd say, like 2017-ish, the brand certainly was me. Like, it was my ideas, my strategy, you know, coming through my team doing an awesome job at implementing it, but basically everyone's supporting me to deliver on this vision. But what I've really noticed, the shift is that now I realize Biddy Tarot is its own entity. It has its own soul. It has its own destiny. And as a team, we're in service to, like, Biddy Tarot. And so I'm really breathing life now into this company. And I feel more like the custodian, I suppose, of this company. And then I think the next step will be that the Biddy brand is growing on its own, and then there's maybe a personal brand for me, whatever that iteration looks like next. So I think it actually really ebbs and flows, as in, even if the name of your company is not you, you can still be a personal brand and showing up in front of your company. And then, you know, maybe it starts to become more of its own brand, and then maybe it goes back into a personal brand and so on.
It's interesting because I feel the same with Girl Director. It's almost like Michael and I joke that we work for Girl Director. We have this, you know, she is a superhero and we are working for her. So it's really good to hear you talk like that too, because I haven't heard many people talk like that. So, yeah, it's really interesting. I love it. And I can't wait to see what your personal brand, what you're going to do there. That's interesting. So talk a little bit about how your idea evolved. Like, talk to me a little bit about how tarot and why tarot for you and your business.
So, yeah, I was self-taught. I started learning tarot after I had a tarot reading. I thought that sounded pretty cool, and it all came true. I was like, "Ooh, this would be a good trick to show my friends." So I started reading tarot and learning how to use the cards and so on. And initially I just thought, you know, this is like a fun party trick I can show my friends. But as I got into it, I realized it's a deeply spiritual tool. It's something that really supports people to understand more about themselves, to, you know, have more self-awareness, for self-improvement, more conscious living. You know, like, there's so many benefits through tarot. But tarot really is just the tool to help us get more connected internally and to empower ourselves and remember that we have this power within ourselves and we can trust that power. You know, tarot is just a vehicle, I guess, really, to get to that place. But ultimately, what I'm tapping into is that real inner empowerment. So that, I mean, that's something that's really evolved for me over time. I initially thought it was about just learning the cards, and now I'm really seeing that true power and potential. And that's what really comes through in our programs as well, is about teaching people, yes, you can learn what a card means, but what we're really showing you is, like, you can learn to trust yourself, and that's the most powerful place or source of information.
Amazing. And when you started on this journey, like when you were working back in the corporate world, like, I'd love you to share a little bit about your vision for the company. Did you set out to create a multi-million-dollar business or a big company? Like, where did that come from?
No, I always thought that, like, if I would have an idea for a business, I would have a business plan. That's kind of how I think. I'm very methodical. I plan. But no, Biddy Tarot is like an evolution. It's really organic. My principle has always been that it's like a big experiment. You know, I'll try something. Oh, did that work? Okay, I'll do more of that. Or, oh, that didn't really work out. Okay, I won't do that again. So I've just really followed the breadcrumbs. I have not really had a strong plan, probably up until the last few years. But I certainly didn't set out to go, all right, multi-million business, here we come. It just organically developed. And everyone comes at it in different ways, but I just feel like it is just channeled through me, which is so much easier to do when you just you're in the flow and you're doing what you believe is being asked of you, and that is in your highest good and your highest potential. Like, it's just continually tapping into that and staying in alignment with it and allowing the rest to flow. And whether that equals a multi-million-dollar company or a really beautiful home-based business with just yourself, it doesn't really matter. It's just about what feels like you're bringing your absolute best into your life and who you impact.
Did you grow up around money? Like, because creating $1 million business is an amazing, it's an amazing thing for anybody to do, because there is a lot of work involved. And I'd love to hear about, how did you grow up around money?
So my family was pretty much a middle class family. It's not that we didn't have money or that we had lots and lots of money. But the thing that really stood out for me is that my mum always pushed with me to be self-sustaining. And I think she really cultivated values within me that I need to be financially responsible for me, for my life. And so what that meant was, when I was a kid, I have memories of sitting with my money and I'd count it. I'd put it in piles. I'd have budgets. I loved money. I loved being with it. And I liked being really responsible and knowing where that money would go. And now that I'm reflecting of how I manage my business now, it's very similar. And I think I've taken a lot of that sort of positive influence around money and I've put it through a business context. And what it means is, we have growing revenue, we have a great profit margin. I don't have debt in my business because it doesn't come into my concept. I'm excited to attract money into our space, because for me, money is it's an enabler, it's a facilitator. It means that you can do great things with money. I love money. Talk about it forever. And
so when you were growing up, where did those lessons come from? So who did you learn that from?
Yeah, see, I don't think that real passion and love for money, I can't see where it's come from a childhood. I do think I was given good values in terms of being self-sustaining, but I think that passion for money, I don't know, maybe it was in a past life.
Do you remember your first job when you were you one of these entrepreneurs that had a lemonade stand or sold things early or had your own little business? Did you do anything like that growing up?
Yeah, I did do quite a few of those things. I remember trying to sell 50-cent tickets to a piano concert that I was not very good at piano. But, I used to have a dog walking business and we used to do little stands outside. So I think that entrepreneurial spirit was there, but I then pursued a very traditional career path, thinking that would be the way that I would get wealthy, is by doing better and better on that career path, until I realised I was living under an illusion and actually I could do much better if I am taking control of my own destiny and finances.
So the light bulb came on when you read the book, The 4-Hour Week, and then you just decided to try the tarot side and see how far you could grow up before you left the corporate. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't even think I had the intention that I would leave my corporate role. I just thought, this is a fun hobby. It's fun to make some money on the side, and then all of a sudden it's okay, now I'm making about 100,000. That feels pretty good. And a lot of that was because we were, I was at that time, it was only me, making advertising revenue. So I'd have advertising on the site and I was just generating a lot of traffic because I was just creating really great content on the site that people wanted to access. And then that meant I found that opportunity. Okay, I've got traffic, I'll sell advertising. Oh, that's making a lot of passive income. That's great. keep doing more of that.
And what do you say about people that go, you're an overnight success? Like, what would you say to that?
Well, I started in 1999, so that's a very long night.
So what has been some of the biggest challenges for you growing your company the way it is now? What's some of the biggest challenges that you've faced and that you've overcome?
I think, I see so much potential for our company and our impact and the way that we can support our community and reach even more people by talking a lot about intuition and how tarot can be a supportive way for personal development. So I see this massive potential, and I think we're tapping into some of that. But the struggle is, how do we keep up? Like, how do we continue to grow and evolve as a company to really maximize the potential that is just sitting like right in front of us? So I think maybe this is an entrepreneur's like a common thing for an entrepreneur is you can just see that potential, but it's about getting everything lined up so that you are able to really tap into that potential effectively and efficiently.
And what's some of the challenges in the past that you've faced, like hiring staff or just even your own internal challenges that you've faced yourself? I'd love to just understand how you could help somebody out there that may be struggling with the same things that you've been doing. Yeah, share with us a little bit about the inner world of Brigit and how you've overcome some of those fears and things.
I think certainly building a team has its challenges, particularly when you start to grow beyond, I'd say about that, 10-person team, because, you're dealing with multiple personalities and people and needs and giving role clarity and so on. And I think too, what I realised was, there's a point at which you can no longer just show up as Brigit and just be like you. I'm pretty authentic. I'm pretty, I just like to show up as I am. But then I started realizing, no, I've got to show up as a leader. I've got to show up as the CEO and the founder of my business. And it's a subtle but very important difference. And I think sometimes I would fall into my just showing up as Brigit, and I'd be a little bit casual about how I talk about things without realizing the impact that that would have on others. And instead I realized, actually, no, I've got to be really clear in my communication. I've got to be clear about if something's an idea versus something we'll implement, or, if there's a change, I've got to be very clear about that as well. So yeah, I think the team management and also just the continually growing and evolving role of the CEO and founder, because it's always changing and it's always asking more of you and stretching you in like so many ways, and you've got to be able to just always be like very self-aware and constantly looking at, okay, how do I need to evolve next.
And how did you make that change from being you, showing up and you get up in your PJs maybe one day you just you want to just be you and you share ideas, to stepping into that CEO role? Like what changed? What did you do differently?
My realization is that we're all just playing a role in this lifetime, and, you can play the role of, small, insignificant person and playing like small, or you could just pretend maybe for a day that like you're this CEO and this leader or a community leader, or that you actually know something about tarot or you have something important to share. Like you can choose that role. I think that we always suffer from imposter syndrome. I still do. I still keep thinking like, oh God, am I the right person for this? Oh no. But then I just think, just show up, just pretend as if you are, like just do it. And then I can get back into it and, back on the horse.
So is that some of the biggest challenges for you? So the imposter syndrome, always evolving and changing. And what about making decisions for where you go? Do you find that hard to do?
Yes, very much. Well, it used to be easy, I think, with a small team, and when a lot of it was just coming from me. So my ideas, my strategy, team executes. So that's easy. Now, I'm blessed with a fantastic leadership team, and where I'm looking to my leaders to come up with strategy and direction. But it's interesting. So get a little bit caught on where decisions are then made. Do I leave decisions to be made by leaders? Do I leave it? Should I be making the decisions? So I can't decide if I should decide. I find that quite challenging, yes.
And what do you do to make the decision?
Pull tarot cards.
I was just going to say, let me guess. Do you use your cards in everyday situations like that?
Yeah, I do. And it's not in the way of like, oh my gosh, where are my cards? I can't decide anything. Oh, tell me cards, what should I do? Even just yesterday, I was planning out a workshop and I knew I could go in 2 different directions. And I just sat out on the lawn. I just closed my eyes for, 5 minutes, just tuned in to see what came up. And then I just pulled a card, and not so much like, okay, card, tell me the answer, but just what other information do I have here? And then when I really connected in with that card and the imagery, I was like, oh, okay, yes, I get it. I can really feel what it is that I need to present in this workshop, and it became a lot clearer. And so that kind of thing I do a lot in the business. I do it with my leaders as well. We pull cards all together, and we use it as an intuitive guidance tool that aligns and integrates with our existing thought processes and intuitive feel.
Do you know, actually, I was thinking of you this week because I pulled out my tarot deck that I've had since I was 15. And I pulled it out because we moved house, and I thought, I'm going to ask a question because it's been so long, because I've got animal cards that I use all the time. But it was just really nice to get those old cards and the smell and just the feelings of being on my room when I was 15 and the plush carpet and, having that deck there. And I just, and when I opened them up, I felt the same. I was like, yeah, okay, this is really good. And just pulling one card for some guidance, what I've always used them for. So, I love that. But it was just been so long, and I thought of you because we were talking this week, and I just thought, this is really nice to get back to that. So I love it. Yeah, fantastic. So tell me, how many years has it taken to create, so going from scratch to growing a multi-million-dollar business or getting to that first $1 million, how long did it take you to do?
I think we hit million in 2017. So what's that? I'd say like the 100K to $1 million, that's 5 years. And
how did you feel when you hit the $1 million mark? Like, was it a goal that you had, right, we're going to hit the target, this is our target, or did it just kind of fly by and you're like, oh my God, look what we did?
Yeah, it does. It's funny because I am quite goal-oriented. Like, I do really set out and lay out goals, but most of the time, whenever I hit the 1 million marks, it's often like in hindsight, I go, oh, it's just happened. As in, I think I reached the 1 million very, before I even had anticipated that we would be reaching that. And then it's the same, for this year, I thought we'd be reaching about 2.2, like that's our goal. And all of a sudden we've reached 3. And so it just kind of, it's been happening. But I suspect I've got some quite ambitious goals for the next few years. So I suspect I'm going to be a little bit more on top of it and seeing how it's progressing.
And so when you hit that mark, like, did you feel like, what did you feel like? Personally, how did you feel when you hit that?
I don't know if this is good or bad, but I do feel like reaching these milestones changes my identity in ways as a leader. So the bad side of that could be that the ego is attached to, these dollar figures and what have you. But I think something shifts, when you go, oh, I'm the leader of $1 million company. Like there's an identity that's associated with that. And then when we've hit this $3 million mark, like that actually feels really different, because I realized too that I've been operating as $1 million leader, and all of a sudden we've hit 3, and I think, it would be, if I can really align my thinking and mindset with what 3 looks like, or even a 5 or a 10, because I think the identity, the choices, the mindset really shifts with those milestones.
And who did you need to become in order to get to the next milestone?
Yes, I think to get, like, the last 12 months, who I'm becoming who I have become is really that CEO and leader role, and to the point of being visionary, as in outside of running the business and knowing how to trust my team and hand over a lot of that decision making, and really be the visionary and the energy holder. So I'm used to kind of the belief that you need to be really busy to be adding a lot of value. And I've had to switch that belief to understand actually where I add value is when I can keep my energy field really strong. And if that means I have, you know, a day off every week to sit on the beach, I'm actually being highly effective at my role by doing that. That's been a big mindset shift. I'm not quite fully integrated with it yet because I sometimes put those days off. But yeah, I think it's changed a lot in that way. My role is very different.
I love it. And, you know, going back to what you said around whether it's good or bad, I love to celebrate that earning money and having a multi-million dollar business as a woman in this time and creating it from scratch is something to celebrate. You know, it still is a rare thing in the world, and to be able to do that with your own company and to grow and learn and be able to make more of a difference in the world, I see it as an amazing thing to celebrate. So,
I don't know, I can't remember the exact stats, but I have a feeling maybe you will know, is that of all the $1 million plus companies, only 1% is run by women. About that.
And this is like filmmakers. Even now, women directors in the world, it's ridiculous. It was 17% for movie makers in the US, but it was something like even 5% of women are making commercials and directing and advertising. And it's just crazy to think that it hasn't moved beyond that is insane. So yeah, 1%. And that's why I want to celebrate with this series, because there are so many amazing women with all kinds of businesses, and it doesn't matter what your thinking is, how you've grown up. It doesn't matter what your idea is, if you're a personal brand, a business name, like it's all possible. And it's so exciting to be living at a time where you can create, you have choices.
Yes, definitely.
So what would be the steps or pathway from going from $100,000 to $1 million, $1 million? I remember seeing once someone laid out 29 steps of the pathway, and I never forgot the pathway. And I'd love to understand, what are your steps or key things that somebody that's watching from 100,000 to $1 million, what are the key steps or pathway?
I think everyone's pathway will be different. So I feel like I can talk to what my pathway has been and what my milestones are. I really believe, for me, hiring my first team member was critical. There is no way that, no, nothing's impossible. I don't believe that it would have been as easy to leverage and grow the business to $1 million without having a team to support me. I think too, just financial awareness. I am sometimes surprised at how some business owners don't know what money is coming in and out, and don't know about revenue and profit of the business. I can't understand how you could financially grow a business if you don't know what your finances are. So I was very aware of our finances and very strategic about, what's profitable and what's not. And if it's not profitable, don't do it, basically. So I think that financial awareness is really important. And I do think that your personal development and growth is incredibly important, and just what we were talking about in terms of identification and how you show up through that period. Because again, how you show up for a 100K business is different to how you show up for $1 million business. Because there's, again, a different mindset. You're more willing to invest in maybe coaching for yourself, or programs, or great team members, or, systems and so on. What else is important in that path?
So looking at the pathway, so what you mentioned there is, knowing your financials, having a look at, what's profitable, what's not, making decisions around that, just who you are and the decisions that you make, and what else?
I think smart choices around product is very important. So I've always been very mindful about our product suite. There are times when I thought, oh, just add lots and lots of products and do lots of things because I've got so many ideas and isn't that all exciting? And then you realise, oh, I'm spending all of this time and energy on creating new stuff when I've got something really great here. What if I just really hone in on that and leverage it? So our product suite has been very strategically set up around our customer journey as well. I want to take someone from like, oh, I'd like to learn tarot to I'd like to read tarot for other people. Oh, maybe I might start a business. So I've lined up the products very mindfully along that journey so that someone can continue to work with us and engage with us and invest with us and so on. So I think the product suite is also really important. And then I think too, having like a coach or a mentor along the way has been really important. Every time I've engaged with a coach or a mastermind even, it's just lifted me up that next level. It's just kind of pushed me a little bit more to go, oh, you thought you were here? No, you can actually be here. Like, oh, okay, I'll fill that gap. And then, oh, you can be over here, fill a gap. Just having someone to hold the space to almost reflect back to you, this is what I see in you. This is the potential that I see in you. And you go, oh, you do? Great. I'll fill it. And then you go and make it happen.
Challenge accepted. Yeah. And what other things are in your pathway? So would it be, what are some of the other key areas around your pathway to making $1 million?
I think alignment has been very important to me along my entire business journey. And what I mean by that is trusting my inner source and my inner wisdom. Yes, I do get advice externally, but ultimately I need to tune into like, how does this feel aligned for me? And is this aligned to my higher purpose and the higher purpose of my company? The alignment really just guides me to around when I might be pushing too much and need to flow more, or when I'm flowing too much and I may need to push more. So finding that balance along the way. I think I've always just had a really lovely balance along the journey.
When you say flow, what do you mean by flow and push?
Good question. So flow is that feminine energy, and it's kind of being a little bit more surrendered and receiving mode. So going where the breadcrumbs lead you, or, just like being a bit more relaxed about your schedule for the day. It's more like, what lights me up today? Oh, go do that. I don't always, I'm not so good on that side. And then pushing is a bit more like, okay, here are my goals, more that masculine energy, right? My goals, what am I going to do to get there? Am I on track? Why am I not on track? Those sorts of things.
And how do you know the balance? Like, what is an equal balance? How do you keep that balance?
Yeah, I used to think that if I was one side or the other, that I was off balance, but I'm realizing actually what it is a real cycle between the both. And the ultimate state is not necessarily always in the middle, that it's okay to go from one to the other, and not to kind of freak out about it, I suppose, because sometimes I freak out. I'm like, oh, I'm so busy, or like, oh, I'm so relaxed, what's going to come next? Just allowing that to happen and to be kind of in between the two.
Love it. And when you say that, because you don't have any debt or anything with the business, so when you made a conscious choice when you started the business that you were going to have that profit and keep reinvesting it into the business, is that a decision you made early on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just don't think I had an awareness that there would be any other way. So I think I've been, in my belief has been that you have a business by generating the cash that you then reinvest. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I'm very aware now that there's many other models, but I'm actually grateful of having that belief because it means I've made some really good, responsible decisions about finances in our company.
And what's some of the things that you've done yourself to help your mindset shift into the CEO and the company owner and of $1 million plus business? Like, do you have affirmations written out? Like, do you listen to things? Like, what's some of the personal things that you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of like leadership and business podcasts as well as personal development. I've just finished a book called Financial Intelligence, which was all about like things like the balance sheet and your profit and loss statement and ratios and all that sort of thing. Not exactly the funnest reading, but it's given me great insight for me to be able to really manage our finances in our business. And I think this is the thing, like I really think this is the difference between kind of like have some fun business owners and then business owners, because I wake up at 5 a.m. and I start reading my financial intelligence book. I'm using those extra hours to keep building up my knowledge about the business. The other things that I do, I'm part of Entrepreneurs Organisation, which is like a global organisation of entrepreneurs from all sorts of industries. We meet like every month. I'm doing mentoring through that program as well. And that just really helps me think quite broadly about how I run my business. And yeah, I just think the personal growth and self-awareness is, again, really key. I might do like kinesiology sessions, Reiki sessions, my own readings, like all the things to make sure that I am at my optimal to really support the business and to support myself.
Love it. Okay, that's awesome. We did talk about this, but I want to go deeper because I don't think we went deep enough around the 3 challenges that the biggest challenges you personally had to overcome to reach $1 million business.
If I think about maybe one of the most challenging times in the business, would have been about just over 12 months ago. And it was at a time where we were really shifting the growth goals of the business, and what was required from the team to get to those growth goals was very different to what we were currently doing. So basically a massive culture change, but I hadn't really registered that it would be a really big culture change. And I brought in some new people into new roles, and everything. Am I allowed to swear on this?
Yeah.
Everything was just turning to shit. Everyone was mad at me. They were whinging and gossiping and complaining, and there was just so much emotion in the business. And I'm sure, like it wasn't just about me. It was just, everything, a lot of unhappiness. And I think I was so personally invested in the business and the team that I took a lot of that personally. And I thought, oh, it's me, I'm failing, and I'm not doing good enough job, and I'm not enough, and like I'm ruining all these people's lives, blah, blah, blah. And I think that really got me to wake up as a leader and just see, like, one, this isn't about me. It's an entity, and it's a kind of, I don't know, it's something that's happening outside of me. So I've learned not to take these things too personally. I've also learned that, everyone has an emotional response, and it's okay to have an emotional response. It doesn't mean that you have to solve it, react to it, respond to it. You can just let someone, have their moment. It doesn't have to mean anything. And I think too, just got me to see about what change looks like in our business and how to manage that effectively.
So the biggest challenge was, the cultural changes and just taking things personally. That was the biggest challenge?
Yeah, and I think initially I think I underestimated the impact of my growth goals and desires for the company. It's kind of wrapped up in the Brigit world of what I wanted, but I wasn't in my leader role and thinking, okay, how is this going to impact the team? How do I manage that impact, and so on? And then once I was in the thick of it, yes, a lot of it felt very personal, and trying to help people and help them solve their emotional concerns and so on. And really is not, it's up to.
How did you move through that?
Lots of tears and wine.
Yep, wine, good.
I think long term, well, actually, we started working with a coach, which was really helpful, and just having some time away from the business. And then also myself, removing myself and having other people manage these types of issues and concerns. So there was a bit more space between kind of what's happening there and so on. But Yeah, I think now too, like I just have a bit more of a sense of humour, not in a caring, compassionate way, but a sense of humour towards myself and more forgiveness that I just don't know everything and I'm not great at everything, and that's okay.
Love that. And what about juggling family? You know, you're a mum and a wife and you've got a house, and like, how do you juggle it all?
I seem to be able to fit it all in around our family timetables. So I think, you know, earlier I was talking about sort of the balance. I've never been someone that's working 50, 60 hours a week. A 40-hour a week is big for me. And so that means that I can be around, you know, in the afternoons when the kids are at home. I have a great husband who does all of the school drop-offs and does all of like this, you know, taking to scouts and all that sort of thing. So that definitely helps. But yeah, look, sometimes it is tricky because I might be on an early call. I've got kids walking into my office, screaming, swearing outside of the door. I think I've just come to accept that that's just part of the picture.
And especially with COVID, I think that's people are kind of a bit more lenient now, aren't they? With people walking in and doing stuff now at home, where we've been doing that for a long time. Now the world is online. It's a little different, hey?
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
So what about, do you have a money game or a strategy to help somebody that's watching and wanting to create $1 million business? What's a game that they could play or something that they could do to shift their mindset today?
Yeah, I see money as an exchange and honouring an exchange. And it's also where we are creating value. So if you purely focus on how do I create value for the people that I serve, then money typically in this economy flows with that. So I see it as a secondary outcome to creating value. So we just focus, what can I do this year, this month, this week to create value? And that's the thing that allows the money to flow through. And there's nothing dirty, there's nothing evil, there's nothing like that's shameful about it. It's our way in this current time of how we honour that value that you've just created for someone.
I love that. And we always say too to people, it's around, if you can be of more service in the world, then money comes back. You know, if you want more money, then look at what your service is right now and how could you be more of service.
And charge money for that service too.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes it can go the other way. I'll give more, I'll give lots more. But it has to be that it's a flow, like it has to be an exchange. Because if you give more, then you need to receive more as well.
Yeah, and honour it and be okay with receiving more.
Yeah.
And what about any games that you play? Some people say, okay, if you put this in your wallet or you carry this around, like is there anything like that you can suggest somebody do in a fun way?
Well, I used to play Monopoly on my own as an only child. That's growing up. Maybe that was my way of playing with money. Look, I don't necessarily have a game per se, but I remember, actually, I think I heard this from Denise Duffield-Thomas, where you just you go into your bank accounts and you just give them love. So I look at my money pretty much every day. Yes, definitely every day, maybe twice a day sometimes. And I just have a little look, what's all happening in my money spots? And I just look at it and I'm like, oh, that's really good. Just give it a little bit of love and a little bit of energy. And, you know, that's all. It's just kind of like watering the plants, I suppose, and filling it up.
And also remembering, like, when you do pay a bill or something, I always like to go, you know, say thank you. That's helped you to become or be on the phone or have electricity or have Wi-Fi that you wouldn't be able to have necessarily, whereas some people go, I've got to pay that bill or that, or it's like, look at it a little differently.
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So what's one mistake that you wish that you had have known but when you've been on your path that you've made?
I think it's probably the impact that I have on others, as in, you know, that kind of distressing time from last year. I think that, you know, I think in reflection, it was a mistake. I always feel a bit weird about mistakes because I think everything's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn. it's never really a mistake unless you keep repeating that mistake, then you've really made a mistake. But yeah, I think that was a pretty pivotal time for me of self-awareness and realization about how I needed to show up as a leader and what was coming like from me and how that might be interpreted and understood. And now I'm a lot more aware of that and more mindful.
Awesome. And what about, we're all about following your crazy ideas. And so we love to, you know, as you know, we've talked about crazy ideas before when we've had lunch. We love, crazy ideas. So what ideas and areas are you excited about pursuing now, especially when you're earning more as a company owner? You can do more, you can make more of a difference. So what's some of the crazy ideas that you're going after now that that you want to share?
Well, it's interesting you say crazy ideas that we're going after, because I find that the key to our success is not going after the crazy ideas, just doing like the stuff that as an entrepreneur feels a bit boring because it's not new. It's like, just do the stuff and just do it well. I think that's the key to our success. But some of the ideas that we play with, you know, I really want to see Biddy Tarot in an app. It's my mission to bring tarot into the mainstream and to have it as an everyday tool. And I really believe that having an app where you can do readings and look up cards would just support that a lot. We probably should have done it 3 years ago, but too busy focused on growing the company.
But even personally, it doesn't, and when I say crazy, I mean, what other things, do you see a documentary that's going to get out there around tarot, or do you want to, I don't know, go around the world doing different things? What's something that you want to do personally?
Well, I think a documentary would be a fabulous idea, and I think I happen to know someone that could do that.
I wonder.
And get that onto something like Gaia or even Netflix. That would be pretty great. I mean, that is the stuff that will really bring tarot into the mainstream, and that would be awesome.
Especially when you was talking about the vision that you have to get out there more and how can you have that bigger impact. Documentaries, especially when you're showcasing it in a way that just helps people to think about things a little differently and the history and just where you're taking it. And it's huge.
Yeah. I really think the next expansion for us is talking more at that intuition level, and it's the expanded conversation. It's not just oh, hey, tarot is really cool, but more about how we can become better people or more in tune with ourselves and so on. I think personally though, I am feeling I just feel a very strong call to talk more in the intuitive entrepreneurship space. You know that. And I'm having so much fun right now with our EO group, the Entrepreneurs Organisation, because most of it's men, and that's because 99% of companies over $1 million are run by men. But it's been fascinating because the way that I think women lead companies is different to the way that men lead their companies. Look, it's not always a gender thing. I should be careful with that. But it's just been interesting how I can show up and how I talk about how I lead businesses, because many other entrepreneurs are very interested and curious about how that plays out. So I would love to have more conversations about what it looks like to be an intuitive entrepreneur and to bring more alignment into the way that we lead our companies and grow them.
Wonderful. And what would you say about intuition in finishing up now? What would you say about intuition with somebody watching if they find it difficult tapping into that? How do they tap into that?
Yeah, I think, we've really been trained to keep looking outside of ourselves for the answers, but I really believe that the answers are already within ourselves. And the most powerful and the most aligned, the most easy, streamlined, efficient ideas are right in there. And in order to tap into that, it's simply about creating space and silence. I always struggle, if I've had a full day of, talking, or I've had lots of people talking around me, all I want is just silence so I can hear myself again. because in this like constant conversation and noise, there is no space to just go silence and then let it come through. You know, we're always on our phones, like what's on Instagram, whatever. We need more silence and space to hear ourselves. I think it's so simple.
I agree. And listening to the thoughts you have, because how can you listen if you're always on a device or the TV's on or someone else is talking? You can't hear it. I agree.
Yeah. And you have to be silent for a long enough time to let all that monkey mind and all the stuff that's in there, you just got to let that run itself out, and then sit in the pause that's in between, and then it starts to become a more interesting conversation in your mind.
Absolutely. I love that. It's such a great reminder that the silence is the key.
Oh, yes. With that note.
On that note, I just want to say, is there anything else that you want to share? Anybody that's listening that wants to create $1 million business that you want to give them?
I think that having the desire for $1 million business is wonderful, and it's something to be cherished and, as you say, like celebrated. I think it's possible for anyone and everyone with the right mindset and the right skills. Financial skills are very important for creating that, but so is that mindset and alignment and trusting, yourself and your journey and your potential.
Love it. So on that note, I just want to say a big thank you for being on here and sharing your wisdom. And I can't believe we've been talking for nearly an hour. It's felt like 15 minutes. There's so much more that we could dive into. I think there might be a documentary somewhere on the way around tarot. But if you want to, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
Yeah, so you'll find us at biddytarot.com, or if you want to reach out to me more personally, you can go to brigit.me. It's BRIGIT.me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and look forward to watching your space.
Thank you.